What's happening? So today I want to talk about the physical media versus digital media debate that's been happening pretty consistently for the whole ninth gen and much of the 8th console gen as well. I guess it's not so much a debate as a push for the preservation of games as a physical commodity and the market continuing to kind of go in the other direction with digital sales far exceeding physical sales on PlayStation and Xbox, and of course the PC market is like entirely digital now. Now I want to say right off the bat that I appreciate that there is a segment of the gaming community that is pushing for physical games, and for the games to actually be installed on the disc, and for games to overall be better supported by the industry in the physical format. However, I have some thoughts that might seem on the surface to be contrary to that sentiment. So before I explain that, I want to say that I am very passionate and as an advocate for game preservation. I think games are art, and I want art to be preserved. So I'll tell a little story, like something about me. I so badly want art to be preserved that when I watch like apocalypse movies or shows, I get anxious just thinking about how like, oh no, like the dinosaur skeletons in the museums are gonna like disintegrate with no one maintaining them, so future civilizations might not even get to see the T-Rex. You know, and I think about all the books in libraries and stuff that are being lost. Like, I'm watching a show about zombies, I'm more afraid about the loss of preserved art than about the main plot of the show. So, trust me when I say I am on team game preservation. But I think it would be good to sort of reframe this a little. I think sometimes we maybe lose track a little bit about what we really want to preserve. So, to explain this, physical media, what we know as physical media, a lot of it really is just digital media and a different storage medium, right? A game disc is just, a disc is just a storage device like a hard drive or an SSD or a SIM card, but with a different means of reading and writing the data on the disc, right? It's read with a laser, the hard drive is read with a magnetic thing. SSDs, I have no idea how they work, but you know, they functionally do the same thing, but just they're like different technologies, right? And we haven't really had physical media since analog storage, right? VCRs, vinyls or cassettes, but vinyls are kind of having a comeback too for similar reasons. That's more of a true return to physical because it is an analog thing. It's not just, you know, a CD. That's just digital audio files being stored on a disc instead of on a hard drive, right? So some similar stuff in other art mediums are going on there. But without getting too distracted, why do we call it physical media then? I think it's pretty obvious. The game is on a disc that you can trade, you can borrow, you can lend it out, you can sell it. It feels like it's a physical thing that's holding the game that, you know, a change in the end user license agreement or some other thing can't take away. Right, so there is a physicality to it. It's just that I don't think that's where the future is. I think the future is ideally, the future, it could be good or bad. Ideally, the future is with DRM-free digital sales. This is something that GOG Galaxy is doing, itch.io as well. So we have some players that are pushing for that. If you don't like all that DRM bullshit, support them. So I want a world with DRM-free digital sales. I want a world also where physical games are still sold to people who want them, but they aren't seen as the only way to own your game. I want a world where companies can't take away your digital purchase after you've bought it. The Stop Killing Games movement is making real headway there. So, you know, Godspeed to that guy, I forgot his name, but the guy who's leading that. Like, seriously, keep it up. I really hope they get some new consumer protections codified into law, so this whole thing where a game gets delisted just gets outlawed. Or a game that you've already purchased. That delisting is one thing, but when you have a game and then it's just gone, like I go to my Ubisoft page and I look, and X Defiant, that shooter, is there under games that are no longer there, and it's all grayed out and sad looking. Like, that should be outlawed. Honestly, I think delisting also should be not a thing. Like, I think if a game's made, it should just be available. No more of that delisted bullshit. So, I think DRM-free digital purchases, where you actually own your game, and the law says so, and the companies can't just decide if they want to be benevolent or not. The law actually says people who buy games actually own it, and you as the company have to abide by that. That's the way forward. And as a primarily PC gamer since 2012, so I've been, you know, it's been my main platform for a while, I'm used to digital, and there are some real benefits to the digital storefront medium. For one thing, I'm actually a proponent of having a bunch of launchers. Yeah, it's kind of inconvenient, and I hear a lot of people say, I wish everything was on one launcher. Can't everything just be on Steam, so I don't have to have, you know, a bunch of different launchers on my computer with games in different places? But if you're saying that, I don't think you really want that. Unless you love monopolies, you don't want that. You don't want Steam to have a complete monopoly on everything. Especially, you know, Gabe Newell won't be around forever. Whoever takes the company over next might want to take the company public, and they'll start chasing quarterly profits. And Steam will get a lot worse the moment that happens. So, the PC space, there's a reason why it always has better prices and more sales and deeper sales than on console. There's a reason why a game will come out and it'll be $70 on PlayStation, and it'll be $60 on PC, and it'll go on sale sooner on PC. It's because there's actually competition. There are different launchers. The game comes out, it'll often be on both Steam and Epic, and it might be in some other places. So those different marketplaces actually have to compete, you know, for your money. That's why, you know, there's more competition, it's better for the consumer. And for consoles, at least in our current legal landscape, that makes disc media more important, because they're often the only way that secondary sales or, you know, lower prices can actually happen. Because, you know, on PlayStation, Sony is the only store. Their marketplace is the only store. On Xbox, the Microsoft store is the only one. Same thing with Nintendo, right? Once you're in their ecosystem, they have monopolies. So they can keep a game at $70 as long as they want, or more, as long as they want, and there's just no competitor. They're the only store in town. So that's another area where I think the law has to change. And in the meantime, disc media is more important, I think, for consoles for that reason. By the way, I wanted to mention, even though I'm primarily a PC gamer, I do have a stake in this as well. I got a PS5 Pro, and I did get the separate disk drive. I got it before it went up to $900. At the current price, I don't recommend it. For $750, I could say I recommend if you really like having, you know, 4K gaming. But for $900, skip. Just get a gaming PC, and you'll get better performance for that price. $900's too high. But I ended up spending about $900 in total, because I got the disc tray, and I got the stand, and plus sales tax. It was about that price for the complete experience, so they're definitely cheaping out a little there. But anyways, I just wanted to mention that I do have a stake in that, and I do, you know, invest in disc games sometimes. So I do still partake there when I do console gaming. Anyways, another digital benefit across the platforms is indie games. There's easier access to a lot of indie games. You know, small developers it's easier for them to get their product to the consumer. Because if they had to put it on a disc, they'd have to get a lot more approval. I mean, a lot of indie games are only on PC because they really don't have the budget. They have a creative idea, they make something good, but they just... Getting it printed on a disc and approved to go on, like, the PlayStation platform is a lot of extra hurdles. Right, so I think having digital storefronts that are a lot more democratized, I think that's really good for, like, indie game development, and I think it opens up the space for a lot more creativity. And if we had, like, a return to discs, I think that that would be a big constraint for a lot of, like, new creative minds trying to do something in this space. So I think, even though what comes with that is there's kind of an issue with slop, right? You know, a developer, they make 900 games in 2 years, you know, so they can get people who want to just boost their trophy numbers or something on PlayStation, and they're all just, like, AI slop. Or even if they're not AI, they're just, like, garbage. Yeah, there's definitely a problem there, but I think it can be solved without making it, you know, impossible for a small developer to put a game out there. I think we can not throw out the baby with the bathwater, so to speak. So without getting too long-winded with all this, my main point here is that I think the future of game preservation is mainly with DRM-free digital sales, not necessarily physical media. And really, you know, there are two ways to ensure that this, you know, bright future is a future and not the everything's a user licensed rental dystopia. Number one is support advocacy groups like Stop Killing Games. The law needs to be pro-consumer here. And the other is vote with your wallet. If there's a game out there and it's on Steam and it's also on GOG Galaxy or itch.io, forget Steam, forget Epic, forget the other stores, get it on them. Get it on GOG or itch.io, where they, part of their business model and part of their marketing pitch to the consumer is that they are DRM free. Support them, make them bigger. Show those other platforms that we, the consumers, want to own our games, and we'll spend our money elsewhere if you, Steam, don't start taking some steps in that direction. So that way, that forces them to take us more seriously. So anyways, that's all for today. Happy gaming. Till next time.